Right now, your day is controlled by a clock. An alarm tells you when to wake up. A calendar tells you where to be. Notifications interrupt your thoughts dozens of times before lunch. Every hour has a purpose, every minute has a schedule. But for almost all of human history, none of that existed. There were no offices, no schools, no weekends, no emails, no deadlines. And yet, for more than 300,000 years, your ancestors survived every single day without any of it. So what did they actually do from sunrise to sunset? Did they spend every waking moment desperately searching for food? Or did they have something that modern humans have almost forgotten? The answer changes everything we think we know about work, leisure, and what it really means to have a busy life. Let's begin with the biggest misconception of all. Most people imagine prehistoric humans constantly running from predators or chasing mammoths across endless plains. It's a dramatic image, but archaeology tells a different story. Survival mattered, but survival wasn't nonstop panic. Like every living species, humans evolved to conserve energy whenever possible. Calories were precious. Wasting them could mean starvation. Instead of moving endlessly, prehistoric people planned carefully, observed patiently, and acted only when it made sense. Every morning began with one question: where is today's food? The answer depended entirely on the season, the weather, and the landscape. A river that was full of fish last week might be empty today. Fruit trees that fed the group a month ago might already be bare. Herds of animals were constantly moving. Every sunrise demanded new decisions. Modern hunter-gatherer societies show that people carried astonishing mental maps of their environment, remembering thousands of plants, animal trails, water sources, and seasonal changes without writing a single word down. Their world wasn't random. It was memorized. But here's what's surprising. Finding food usually wasn't an all-day job. In the 1960s, anthropologists Richard Lee and Irvin DeVore began carefully studying hunter-gatherer societies in southern Africa. Their findings challenged one of the oldest assumptions about prehistoric life. Adults often spent only 3 to 5 hours each day gathering food, hunting, fishing, or preparing meals. The rest of the day looked nothing like the exhausting struggle that popular culture imagines. If food was relatively abundant, people stopped working. There was no reason to collect more than the group could carry or preserve. In a world without refrigerators or supermarkets, extra food often became tomorrow's waste. So what happened during those remaining hours? The answer wasn't leisure in the modern sense. It was maintenance. Spears broke. Stone blades became dull. Animal hides needed scraping. Rope had to be twisted from plant fibers. Baskets wore out. Fires had to be kept alive. Every object people owned was handmade, and every object eventually needed repair. Archaeologists have found stone tools showing repeated sharpening over months or even years, suggesting that prehistoric people constantly maintained what they already had instead of replacing it. Nothing was disposable because nothing was easy to replace, but tools weren't the most valuable thing they were making. They were making people. Human children take longer to grow up than almost any other animal on Earth. A baby giraffe walks within hours. A young chimp becomes largely independent in a few years. Human children need more than a decade before they can survive on their own. That means prehistoric adults spent enormous amounts of time teaching. Children followed older relatives through forests, copied the way they chipped stone, learned which berries could kill and which could save a life, and practiced throwing miniature spears long before they hunted real animals. Anthropologists often describe this as learning through participation rather than formal instruction. There were no classrooms because the entire day was the classroom. Knowledge became the most valuable resource a human could possess, and that's because prehistoric survival depended less on strength than memory. An experienced gatherer might recognize hundreds of edible plants. A skilled tracker could tell the difference between footprints made an hour ago and footprints made yesterday. A hunter could predict where animals would appear simply by understanding wind, weather, and migration. None of this knowledge was written anywhere. It existed only inside human minds. Every conversation became a transfer of information. Every mistake became a lesson someone else remembered. But humans weren't talking only about survival. Anthropologist Polly Wiesner spent years documenting conversations among the hoansi people of the Kalahari Desert, whose way of life preserves many features of ancient hunter-gatherer societies. During the day, conversations focused on practical matters: food, movement, and daily tasks. But once work was finished, discussion changed. People laughed, they teased one another, they told stories about distant places, remembered ancestors, explained the origins of the world, and imagined things no one had ever seen. Long before writing, stories became humanity's oldest technology for preserving knowledge. In other words, civilization may have started long before cities. It may have started with conversation. And perhaps the greatest difference between their world and ours wasn't how much they worked. It was how they measured time. Today, your day is divided into hours. Ancient humans didn't count hours. They watched shadows grow shorter. They noticed birds becoming quiet. They recognized the smell of rain before clouds appeared. Time wasn't something displayed on a screen. It was something felt through nature itself. Their schedule changed with every season. Summer offered longer days for gathering. Winter demanded careful planning and conservation. The environment, not a clock, decided what happened next. That rhythm shaped the human brain for hundreds of thousands of years. Then everything changed. Around 12,000 years ago, agriculture began spreading across different parts of the world. For the first time, humans couldn't simply stop working when today's food was collected. Fields demanded constant attention. Crops had to be planted, weeded, irrigated, harvested, and stored. Livestock required daily care. Food became predictable, but work became endless. Historians often describe farming as one of humanity's greatest revolutions, but it also transformed the meaning of a day. Instead of adapting to nature's schedule, humans began adapting to the demands of their own fields. Thousands of years later came cities, then factories, then time clocks, then office schedules. Eventually, the average day became something measured in appointments instead of sunlight. Today, many people feel guilty for resting. Your prehistoric ancestors probably wouldn't have understood that feeling. When the day's essential work was finished, they stopped. They talked. They repaired tools. They watched children play. They studied the landscape. They rested because conserving energy increased tomorrow's chances of survival. Productivity wasn't measured by staying busy. It was measured by staying alive. So what did ancient humans do all day? They searched when searching mattered. They built when building mattered. They taught because knowledge was survival. They rested because nature rewarded efficiency, not exhaustion. And between all of those tasks, they did something that modern life often leaves very little room for. They simply spent time with one another. For more than 300,000 years, that was the rhythm that shaped the human mind. Not meetings, not notifications, not endless productivity, just the rising sun, the changing seasons, the people around the fire, and another day lived at the pace of the natural world. We often imagine prehistoric life as primitive, but if one of your ancestors could watch the way many of us spend our days now rushing from one obligation to the next without ever feeling finished, they might wonder which of us is actually living the stranger life.